need a countdown thing. I need like a countdown number that says 3, 2.
And we need ring girls. That would be cool. Next, they like hold up the DVD cover. They parade around in bikinis and hold up the DVD cover. Next, we're going to talk about this.
3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome to the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
John, how you doing?
I'm good.
Welcome to the apartment.
Thanks. It's Friday.
You saw Tucker and Dale versus Evil the other day.
I did.
Was it good?
It wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. I had high hopes for it, but it was okay. It was funny and it was gory, but it wasn't enough of either one. But I like the guy who's in it.
Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
I was surprised that he was in
and
that. I thought this was like a real... I haven't seen it. I thought it was like a real low-budget deal.
Oh, it is. It is. It's a low budget. But it was fun.
Naturally, I ascribe high budget to Alan Tudyk.
Yeah. No, it was entertaining. I don't think I'd rush back to see it again when it opens, but it was okay.
It's at the Coolidge next... Christ, what's next Friday? September 30th. Yeah, it's a midnight show at the Coolidge on September 30th.
See, now, it's a good midnight movie. I don't know how it's going to do playing at regular times. You know, I don't know. It's more of a cult thing, I think.
What's the story?
2 hillbillies are going off to their vacation home, and they run into a group of teenagers. And it's kind of like the classic setup for a horror movie. You know, teenagers get lost in the woods, and the hillbillies kill them. Well, the teenagers die, but they all die accidentally. And Tucker and Dale think it's part of a suicide cult that have come to their vacation home to kill themselves. So it's pretty wild. There's a lot of gore, and fun, giggles.
And I'm laughing because we're sitting across from each other, and I've got to. This is like how many new microphone setups.
This isn't the end.
This is like...
I know this isn't the end.
You know, new microphone stands. And it's like each time we do the podcast, it's like a different microphone setup, thinking this is going to solve everything.
That's right.
This is the way it's supposed to be arranged.
Well, I'm reclining on the couch now. I think by next week I'll be lying on the floor.
You best described it how?
It's very Romanesque. I should be fed grapes as I deliver my verdict. You know, up and down thumbs. The Coliseum would roar behind me.
But it's comfortable, though.
It is.
I'm leaning back.
So if I nod off a little, it's only because I've lulled myself.
Do you think the leaning back and being like really relaxed is going to make a difference?
Yeah, I'm not as aggressive.
Like possibly dozing off.
We'll start talking in very quiet tones. And now, reader, dear listener, we're going to talk about Killer Elite. Lay back, relax.
Well, yeah, I can wait on that.
As we take this movie, you asshole.
Oh my God, I can wait. Saw The French Connection this week.
Yeah, on the big screen.
I had never seen it like that before. I was amazed.
You didn't see it in theaters when it came out?
No.
1971. You weren't like, what were you like? 8?
In 71, was it 71? I was 6.
Yeah, so
5,
you probably just 6. Don't remember going to see an movie.
Yeah, well, I remember wanting to see Jaws and having my parents say no.
Yeah.
So there was no chance of seeing
French Connection.
At
but
5.
It was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It got an applause afterward. It was really neat to see it in 35, and there were some people in the audience that were just so tied into it. I think they kind of forcefully applauded at the end. Like they were more into the idea of seeing the French Connection on the big screen as opposed to being like ultimately awesome. I mean, it was neat and everything. But
right.
I think I got this feeling like they were applauding for the 70s grunginess of it.
I can see that. I applauded for its 70s grunginess.
I can't make anything like that again today because those kind of sets are gone. And if you do, it's...
No. What I love about...
Are they those kind of street scenes?
Well, yeah, and I love when a guy gets shot... Like the guy who gets shot in the face in the beginning. I remember when I saw that the first time, I was just horrified. And now it's like, ooh, a red paint can went off in his face. It looks silly.
Yeah.
But it's still, I mean, the action, the car chase is one of the best. And the acting is really good. Was that before Jaws?
Oh, yeah.
So
Jaws was 75.
That's when I first really started to like...
I think of it as like, was it before the Poseidon Adventure? I guess
that's right.
I guess that was 72. maybe.
But it made me want to see all of Gene Hackman, all of Roy Scheider, and even Tony Lo Bianco, whose career is nothing
John,
you really want to
with
follow.
your memory.
I told you, I saw it a couple weeks ago, so I dug it out. I was looking for something. You know those times when you don't want to watch a movie you have to watch? You know,
That
I've got
happens
like
quite
20 to
often
watch
with
on
me.
the DVD list, and I'm like, oh,
We had that
something
situation last night. Watching, I just got Transformers: Dark of the Moon, and it's neat to watch, you know, from
Right.
like a visual standpoint. But like, I was not excited about it.
Yeah.
I wasn't super excited about it. But yeah.
Well, that's
some things you got to watch.
You know, there's
as
a few
critic,
movies
you know.
over the last couple of weeks I've watched, like X-Men First Class and Bridesmaids and stuff that was in theaters that now is out on DVD.
Yeah.
And it's funny to go back and read the review I did when it came out and see if I have a different opinion of it now that it's, you know, I'm seeing it again on DVD.
Did you like X-Men First Class as much?
I still had the same problem. I thought Kevin Bacon was an awful choice for the bad guy.
Oh.
But Bridesmaids was actually funnier this time. And I think that's because people weren't laughing over the jokes
It's got
as
something
much.
pleasant about it,
Yeah.
even though it's pretty raunchy.
That's
You know,
really raunchy.
You know,
But it's funny.
there's still something like super likable about it.
Yeah. It's a great cast.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just, and plus, with that, you got the unedited version, and you can do all the extras, you know, and stuff like that. So it's just interesting to see stuff that,
The gag,
yeah.
the outtakes reel is actually pretty funny.
So it's been an interesting exercise because a lot of the stuff we get to review on DVD is we saw 6 months ago or less even. You know, they come out so fast. I'm more interested in things that either never made it to theaters or older cinema. We'll talk about it on the next show. But
and the next one there's a few horror movies I'm looking forward to. 51, not the Billy Crystal Asterisk 51 with Thomas Jane and Barry Pepper. No, it's 51 is in Area 51. Haven't seen it yet. Looking forward to seeing it. But hey, I wanted to also say that there's some great stuff coming up to the Coolidge. They've got the original Little Shop of Horrors as a midnight film next Friday and Saturday.
with Jack Nicholson?
Yep, the Roger Corman flick. And I think, what else have they got? They've got the Dario, I'm trying to remember, the Dario Argento flick, Demons?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? That's the name of it? Demons? I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But it's part of this this guy who's a horror fanatic. I'm not really familiar with him. Jay Cannibal. And he's got this thing that he does at theaters called Jay Cannibal's Feast of Flesh.
Is that his real name?
Sure.
Jay?
J-A-Y Cannibal.
Cannibal is the last name? Yeah.
Jay Cannibal's Feast of Flesh. I think it's it's next week at the Brattle, Friday, Saturday, and it's this show that they do. It's part like a live thing with the Boston burlesque troupe, Black Cat Burlesque.
Okay.
It's going to perform live. John, are you opening a drink?
No, I farted.
That it's
acting
funny.
like you in a coffee shop.
I
No,
was
that was sparkling water being opened quietly.
I was just saying that now that like with this stuff, it like picks up freaking everything.
Really?
So you're gonna probably hear that little
Good.
or the screwing of the bottle.
People can hear me growing older as they listen to this.
Oh man!
Now all those
Brattle-
shows at the Coolidge are midnight shows, right?
Yeah, the Coolidge.
That's
They've got
just unfair.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil at the Coolidge next week, and then they've got this other film called Deadbeat at Dawn. With the director Jim Bennis is going to be there. They're doing a Q&A next week. It's
But they're all at midnight.
Co-presented, not co-produced. Co-presented by they are all at midnight by the Boston Underground Film Fest.
I can't get back home after that. You know, I don't have a car, and I'm not paying a cab to take me to North Quincy. So,
If have you seen Red State? Yeah.
No.
The Coolidge is doing a thing with Kevin Smith.
Oh, is it $100 a ticket now? $600
No,
a ticket?
I got lucky. I was able to see it last March,
Right.
but I didn't have to pay the $75 ticket.
Yeah. How was
my
it?
buddy John gave me the tickets. I think it's his best film.
Huh.
I wouldn't say it's like this great cinematic experience, but it did exemplify what he's learned about filmmaking and how to pull it off a movie. It's a hard one to sell. It's one of those movies that you don't know exactly what to say about it in terms of, like, where does it fall genre-wise? Horror, exploitation. I guess it's
Yeah.
definitely exploitation. But I mean, it's not really a horror flick, although it has horror elements, and it's not an action thing, although it has action elements.
And it's
it's
not your
like a
Kevin
typical
Smith movie.
Kevin Smith thing.
Yeah.
It's got those elements.
He's actually coming to the Wilbur
Again?
later this year with Jay for a night
Oh,
of
for
comedy
the
with Jay and
podcast.
Silent Bob.
Right. Well, he's going to be at the Coolidge on Saturday.
He is?
No, on Sunday. Yeah, he's he's introducing the film and then doing a Q&A afterward. I don't know if I'll get this podcast up by then, but if people listening are around, Kevin Smith, I'm sure will draw a college
How much,
crowd.
though?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's just it. He charges
He's
way
got to
too
be.
much.
It's got to be a regular ticket. You can just get the movie's been available for download or on iTunes and on Comcast for
Decades.
a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
In September. So
I have almost no
It's out
interest in
there.
seeing it. You know, I just don't. I'm
not
sick
your kind
the-
of thing.
I'm just no. It is my. That's just it. It is my kind of thing. But I'm so sick of the overhype about him and this.
It's like he had to
movie.
do what he had to do in order to, because his decision was to bypass the typical distribution.
Right.
scheme.
And was that a decision he made because he's so cool and independent, or was it because no one wanted the movie?
It's not a bad film.
Right. I mean, we see. I'm sure we
I
see
mean,
a
they
lot
did it out of
worse.
frustration, I think. But
Yeah.
the answer's out there. He talks and talks and talks. He'll tell you exactly.
I tried
what's
watching
going
one
on.
of his stand-up shows, and it was over 2 hours of him just standing there talking, and it was so annoying.
I thought I listened to his. I was there for his Q&A, if you want to call it a Q&A, back in March, and he was up there for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Going and going. It's
That's
actually that
he-
takes a talent.
He needs an editor.
He was a funny guy. Funny guy. Hey, the Coolidge also has a. They're going to do a series of films on Stephen King adaptations for October.
Bullet-
So we
what is
got
it?
that to look forward to.
They doing the one? What's the one where
They haven't
Silver
announced
Bullet?
the films yet.
Oh, okay. That's an awful one.
But
Some of the-
you're going to have to show Maximum Overdrive.
Well, that's just it. Are they going to take the high road and show the good adaptations of Stephen King stuff, or are they going to just throw the net wide and show stuff like Maximum Overdrive?
I don't know. And the other thing is, he's around here.
Where?
He's the Sox are in a pennant race. He's going to the games at Fenway. He may be at the Coolidge, I suppose.
I don't know.
During this. And if they do, when they come out with the schedule, I'd be surprised if Maximum Overdrive wasn't on it. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
When I worked at Carolco Studios in Wilmington, back when I got one of my first jobs on a movie, it was I think it was North Carolina Film Studios at the time, and they had filmed very few movies down there at the time. This was in the late '80s, and but they had happened to have had, I think, 3 Stephen King films at the studio in the '80s, which was kind of I guess coincidental. But they had Firestarter was one of the first films they filmed in Wilmington. Then they followed that up with I think Cat's Eye and Maximum Overdrive. And Maximum Overdrive they did entirely at the studio. So I'm telling you this because when I used to report to work, they had this behind one of the stages. They had a small fenced off area where they just put stuff that they weren't using. And one of the junk pieces that was leaning up against the stage,
Drew Barrymore. No.
well, was the head, the Green Goblin from the front of the truck in Maximum Overdrive that was featured in the poster, was just leaning up against the studio wall outside, exposed to the elements, probably for a couple of years.
And I don't see it hanging anywhere in your apartment. So
Somebody must have picked it up and done something with it. But I imagine it could have been pretty valuable if they'd taken care of it. It has to be in somebody's hands by now. But for the longest time, it was just leaning up against the side of the building every day.
He did the junket for The Mist. Stephen King did.
Yeah.
And it was wild because it was an international live podcast.
Yeah.
It was the craziest thing I've done, I think, in
International live
international
podcast. So
live
you're not
podcast.
with everybody. You're just like
No, we were in the room. There were maybe like 200 of us in a room in New York. But the broadcast went out live, and he was taking questions from around the world live through a special feed. So I didn't get a question. I didn't really have anything to say.
I have another Stephen King story. This one was told to me by a guy that used to be my boss. He got super pissed, apparently, at Stephen King. He just had the worst things to say about him. Like he was a total idiot, didn't know what he was doing, doesn't know how to make a movie. Apparently, it all came about because they were filming this scene on Maximum Overdrive where that involved a lawnmower. And the lawnmower apparently got a little too close to, I guess, my boss or someone else. But I suppose it's him. But it came very damn near close to, I guess, decapitation of a sort.
Huh.
He just lost it with anger that could not be expressed to Stephen King at the time of the set. Because one thing you don't do as a crew member is you don't get pissed at the director.
Wait,
I guess they just bottle it all up and save it until
King
after the
direct
movie.
Maximum Overdrive?
He did.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And according to a guy I used to work with, had not the slightest idea what he was doing. But of course, he's super freaking critical. Right. I actually, I didn't like my boss. I didn't.
Do you want to say his name?
No, no. But he was pretty much a total jerk. So I don't actually respect his opinion, but that's the story.
Now, do you read Stephen King?
I used to. Haven't for a while.
I still do.
Really?
Yeah. I read all his stuff.
He's prolific.
My God, yeah. That and the thing is, his books usually just piss me off because it's a 1,200-page book and it's good for 800 pages, and the last 1,200 just piss me off. When it's it's all being caused by a giant spider from outer space. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think the Stephen King films that they've shown over at the Coolidge, I think have done really well. And they just announced this prior to the French Connection screening that they were doing the Stephen King series. So hopefully that'll be good for them.
Yeah.
They get some good stuff.
There might be a couple if they're not all are they midnight again?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out this week, hopefully, if the schedule comes out. And on this episode, we're going to talk about Killer Elite. Not the Killer Elite, by the way, just Killer Elite, as to differentiate it from Peckinpah's 1975 film.
Right, right.
And Moneyball. And I think you can call it Brad Pitt's Moneyball, because not only does he star, he produces.
But we talk a lot about lame remakes being done. There's always Hollywood's just eating its young again. These people were so lazy.
I don't even. It's just the title.
They just took the title. It's got no. Did everyone hear that?
Yeah, that was
no relationship.
DVDs falling from the table.
No relationship to the Peckinpah movie with James Caan and Robert Duvall, which is a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
This was a pretty awful movie.
I think when it was. I was very.
You were angry.
I was. I do get angry. I get very frustrated because I think that here's a filmmaker who has had all this opportunity, time. Well, I don't know time. I mean the money, the people, everything, and they do this.
I wanted. Now,
it's just.
I wrote this in my review because this is a first-time film director, and I wondered just
Gary McKendry.
How bullied he was making a movie between Jason Statham, Clive Owen, and Robert De Niro.
You know that he was bullied?
No, I just imagine that he was bullied by these three, guys trying to live out their testosterone fantasies, and just having this young director come up and say, "Well, Mr. Niro, can you do that again? Fuck you, kid."
This is what money gets you.
Mm-hmm.
Money gets you De Niro. Money gets you Clive Owen, and I guess to some extent Jason Statham. Money gets Jason Statham and Robert De Niro on the screen at the same time.
Yeah.
I think this movie is best summed up by one short scene that De Niro does at the end of the movie when he just grabs the money and runs. And that's what this is about. It's about a briefcase full of money that he's able to scoop into a bag and jump into a car and go. I just thought that's what he did for this movie, man.
Well,
it's just the editing, the music, it's so intended to be cool that it becomes a parody and painful to watch.
Yeah, it's not cool at all. Even if, obviously they're trying to recreate something from the 70s or 80s, some action movie, but...
Every time, it's like they had names for themselves. They call this secret operative unit or something. Yeah. These guys... but they report to this council
Yeah, a
that
really
deals
old
with
man.
things lightly. They call themselves the Feathermen.
Yeah, so cheesy. So anyway, it's the basic plot is Jason Statham is a secret agent. I'm not going to bother trying to figure out who. They're all secret agents, or
He's more like a grunt secret agent,
Yeah.
as opposed to Clive Owen, who's more like Mr. Special Forces, classy guy.
yeah. And he leaves the secret agent business, but he gets called back in when his ex partner Robert De Niro is kidnapped by some Middle Eastern terrorist
Yeah,
who
well, money's involved.
will instead of ransom wants Jason Statham to go out and kill the man who killed his son.
It's like battling pawnbrokers.
And so the guys who killed his son are this group of old men who have the rogue agent Clive Owen, who's out to stop Jason Statham from killing the rest of the guys who killed his son, so they can get Robert De Niro out of prison. Blah blah blah.
Just the
Way
action,
too
the
much
way it
plot.
was it was just so overdone, and
None of them give good performances.
it's just yes. I mean, I really don't know where to begin other than I think there's maybe one good action scene that Jason Statham does with a chair.
Yeah.
And it's edited in such a way that I was so annoyed that they were just going for all these like cliche music, cliche lines. I'm recalling, what was it, like a line about a strawberry or something? I don't
knows?
fucking know. There was a moment where Clive Owen had a gun to Jason Statham's head, and I thought, just
Shoot him.
shoot him, get it over with. Shoot him now, and
Shoot
this
me.
might be a good movie because I wouldn't, it just,
No, he can't. He can't.
just,
And then the thing is that Jason Statham, he's kind of been like this action piece of meat for a while, but
I don't think any of these guys are the problem, though. They're actually all right at what they do, but the movies,
Oh, yeah.
systematically, it's just
that
epistemologically is a problem.
Hey, we're gonna stop now and get
I
the
interrupted you.
thesaurus.
Go ahead, sorry.
For some reason, Clive Owen's character was shot in the eye or is injured his eye, so he's got a funny eye in the whole thing, and that's just it. It was every time they show him in a close up, all I said was he's got a funny eye. It had nothing. It didn't fit the character. It gave him his point of revenge, I guess, or whatever. Little things like that. It's like you remember the Magnificent Seven. Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen, the classic Western.
Right. You're talking about like how do you get these guys to work together?
Well, I remember
And
reading
Yul
a
Brynner
story
being all
once
pissed
where,
off at Stephen Queen.
yeah, that there's a scene where they get on it's in the very beginning of the movie where they get on a hearse. No one wants to bury the guy because he's an Indian. They drive him up on the hill, and in the scene, it's just Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen on this hearse driving it through the town. But I was reading a story where Steve McQueen would before he doesn't just put the shotgun shells in his gun, he shakes them first. And he's always adjusting his hat and doing little things. And it was all to draw attention away from Yul Brynner in the scenes. Yeah. And it was this little ego thing he had, but it reminded me of these guys, like, oh, my character needs a funny eye because, that helps my acting or gives him more sustenance or something. It's just bullshit. These little things they add to try to one-up themselves.
Do you think that Clive Owen and Jason Statham were doing things to drive each other nuts?
I think the three of these guys, it was just a total dick measuring contest.
I think it was just designed to be cool, and it just imploded. And
Which one?
I
Owen?
actually kind of felt sorry for the guys. I felt empathy for them while watching the movie.
Yeah.
For Clive Owen, well,
yeah.
Even De Niro, I suppose.
He did the Fockers. I have no empathy left for Mr. De Niro. He's been whoring himself out for a long time.
Lame
now.
action. This was a movie, I believe, and I'm probably wrong, but I'll say it about this. I felt when I walked out of this movie like this was a film conceived by a bunch of 20-somethings, by a bunch of guys sitting in a room thinking that these are all the things we need to do in order to make a cool movie.
Right. They had their little checklist.
And it's just like living in its own world, and you can look at it and say that, oh my God, man, how come their consciousness wasn't just outside of this stupidity?
Right.
The consciousness of this film, it's not open to me. I don't get it. I saw it as just laughable.
I think you're right. It's a bunch of young guys who. It's like if they went to see The French Connection and decided they were going to make a New York cop movie without ever having lived in New
All
York,
the cliches,
or had a good script or a director like Friedkin. They just said, "Hey, I like that cop movie was cool. We should make a cop movie."
Just people don't see this film. Don't waste your time. I mean, it's just when are they going to learn? I just if you want to go and actually end up feeling kind of bad for Robert De Niro and Clive Owen, then go see this.
Yeah.
I know that there's some critics out there who completely disagree with me, but I just don't see it the way they do. I just didn't see this as a good piece of work. It was just
not even a good mindless action movie. And when you bring those three guys above the title, you expect more, and it doesn't deliver.
Yeah, it's got a great. It's you'd think that's what's so frustrating about it. All the opportunity gone, done.
If you want to see a good Jason Statham movie, get Blitz, which is out on DVD.
All right, you mentioned
now. It's a really good movie. If you want to see a good Clive Owen, Children of Men, great movie. If you want to see a good De Niro, Meet the Fockers.
Yeah, and just to relate this film to another one, as far as like guys doing guy things for action-oriented purposes, The Expendables covers all of this in a much better way.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a parody, but it's beyond parody. It's just, it knows exactly what it's doing. Killer Elite didn't know, was trying to be serious and ended up being funny.
Right.
The Expendables knows that it's trying to be a little funny.
Right.
And has a certain, self-effacing quality to it. This
doesn't. It takes itself way too seriously.
Done with it.
All right, we're done with it.
Yeah. Off to happier things like Moneyball.
Before we go to Moneyball, I do want to, before I forget, there's a movie out now called Dolphin's Tale.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to make this real quick. I did not want to see it watching the previews because it's about a dolphin who loses his tail and gets a prosthetic tail. And it's like one of these uplifting Disney movies, even though it's from Warner Brothers. It's just this uplifting animal movie. And I really didn't want to see that, especially when I know there's also an Iraqi war, an American soldier fighting in the Middle East who loses his leg or injures himself, and then that's a parallel story to the dolphin. It sounds fucking dreadful.
Is this in any way based on a true story?
Oh yeah, you can actually go online and see this dolphin, this real life dolphin with his prosthetic tail. It's actually pretty good. I had to be dragged in kicking and screaming. So, but this is the point I want to make. This movie is shot in 3D, or it's playing in 3D. It does not need to be in 3D at all. Nothing in it except for like one shot of the dolphin, and it's a money shot. It's like a porn film money shot where this dolphin leaps up into the camera. Do not, if you go to see this, and families will probably go see it, do not go see it in 3D. Save the money. You would pay the extra $3 a ticket for 3D and donate it to New England Aquarium, donate it to this whale or this dolphin for real. That would make you feel better than giving, Warner Brothers an extra $3 a ticket. It's just something I felt strongly about because it's like, this family's there. A family of four to go see this thing at night is what, $40, $50? Not worth it. Not worth it. Go see the matinee and
I'm
donate the
surprised
money.
that you're saying that it's really worth it.
It was much better than I thought it was going to be. Much better.
In 2D.
And or if you feel the need, they can also donate the money to us, which is always good.
That's right. There's a donate button.
And I'll not eat tuna for a week.
Post-movie.net.
Yeah, I'll not eat tuna for a week. That'll be my contribution to the planet.
Which, by the way, I emailed you. I bought postmovie.net.
Yes.
So now I'm like, do I keep post-movie.net or I go to postmovie.net? Because when you actually write it out, I think we actually, I don't know. When I thought of the name of this podcast, it was just sort of like, I'm never happy with it, But I guess it is a hyphen, because it's our post-movie conversation. And I've asked other people about it. I mean, it's not like pow movies or Shazam. You know, it's not something like
Wait,
emphatic.
can we buy
It's
Shazam
just
film?
Shazam film.
Fucking awesome movie.
But yeah. So anyway,
Hey,
FYI,
that's my
Ghost
Dolphin Tale
movie
thing.
.net.
Let's move on to Moneyball.
Man, I really liked this movie, and this, mind you, written by one of the guys who wrote The Social Network, which I really loathed.
Oh, Aaron
But,
Sorkinson doesn't like you either.
He applies the sort of the same aesthetic here, and it works. You know,
Works really well.
Revenge of the Bean Counters, Revenge of the Nerds, the rise of the computer elite
All those things you
applied to baseball.
Well, that's explain it in a little more detail than that. The plot.
This is the story of Billy Bean, who was the general manager of the Oakland A's, I guess in 2000, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And what he was looking at, well, Billy Bean, let me just take a step back. He's played by Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt doing his best Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Brad Pitt. He's good.
Mm-hmm.
Pitt is really a good actor.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
really good. And he brings like this sort of like forceful intensity, but he's also laid back. And his also what he brings is like what you're just saying, like I keep going back to McQueen. I mean, you just did, so now I don't feel like
No, bring it.
But he does all these little things. You know how his character in Ocean's 11 was always eating something.
Yeah.
Crunch potato chips, and here
Shrimp cocktail.
he's always and here in this movie he's doing the same thing, you know, with Twinkies and stuff, and he's always got something going on. But that's kind of like it's so much his character. Oh, John, they're coming for you.
Yep, my ride is here. Oh, it stopped.
This is Brad Pitt being like at his best. Brad Pitt, he's really works for this role. So he's plays Billy Bean. He's the general manager of the Oakland Athletics, who occupy the lowest rung on the money hierarchy in baseball, where I think at the other end, obviously, it's the Yankees,
Right.
or the Red Sox, or perhaps the Chicago Cubs are pretty up there. You know, one of the pricier big city teams. So he's working in this situation where they're floundering. I think they had a successful season in 2000, but they've lost three of their main players.
Right.
One of who is Johnny Damon. I think they also lost Jason Giambi.
Right.
And
Some other guy.
another fella whose name I can't remember.
Fella.
Yeah, because they didn't have the money to keep him. And there's a scene at the beginning of the movie where it's like, well, the Red Sox have just offered 3.5 for Johnny Damon, but you can keep Damon if you offer 15. Something like that, and he can't do it. So he's lost his players. Billy Bean has to try and figure out a way to get the best team on the field with the money that he has. The Yankees can buy people. The Red Sox can buy people. Billy Bean has $38 million to work with. The Yankees have $114 million.
Right.
Plus another $100 million in reserve. I mean, crazy money compared to what he has. So in order to cut through all the bullshit, he is entranced by this philosophy that is brought to him in the persona of Jonah Hill. Plays he's a low. Billy Bean goes on this trip to Cleveland, ends up meeting a fellow working in the office at Cleveland who has this philosophy that, like, if you pay attention to the numbers will tell you the real story. The numbers will give you the real story of this game, the facts, you know, everything you need to know about doing one thing, just getting to first base. So he applies. Jonah Hill plays this economics major from Yale, who practices what he calls sabermetrics, which is just looking at the numbers. Like, you can take what are you getting for your money? Mm-hmm. Like, for example, if you get Johnny Damon for $13 million, does that guarantee that he's going to get to first base? No, it'll guarantee that you get some ticket sales and you'll have a vibrant, showy personality to sell stuff on the field. But it doesn't. You're not buying first base. So they decide to play the game. He brings Jonah Hill's character back, the guy back to Oakland, hires him right on the spot, and they start playing this game, Moneyball.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing about this film is that when you look at the numbers, and then you find these underappreciated baseball players that will do what you need to do at this, better than, or at the same level as the guys, who have the big paychecks. It's very hard to convince other baseball experts because they base their opinions on time-worn things.
Right, all the old guys who do the scouting reports and say,
injuries.
Damon's worth it because he makes
personality.
He already makes $5 million. He's worth $6 million.
Like, for example, the Jason Giambi's brother. Mm-hmm. The scouts didn't want to bring him to Oakland because he's a guy that hangs out in Las Vegas and likes to go to strip clubs, and he's not, he's got this other personality stuff. But if you strip away the personality and look at the numbers, he gets on base.
Yeah. Whether it's by walks or getting hit or whatever, he's got a better on base percentage. Or they take a catcher who can't throw anymore,
Hatterberg,
and put him on first base because he's got a high on base percentage. Uh-huh. And everyone else, all the old guys, all the old scouts are like, he can't throw. You can't have him. He's a risk. And they say, look at the numbers. He gets on base. It has nothing to do with his throwing arm. When he's at the plate, he gets on base. Mm-hmm. We'll teach him how to play first. Mm-hmm.
And what Billy Beane has to go up against is his own manager. His manager, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, who controls the scorecard. And he was always going to put, what's that guy's name? Not Giambi, not Derek Jeter. I forget. He was always going to put this star guy on first base, right. Even though this is what was causing the problem, was that you were putting the flash and perceptions of ability over the actual numbers.
Right, and because Billy Beane's only the GM, it's his job to put the team together, and then the coach's job to put that team out on the field. So when Billy Beane says, no, I want this other guy on first, the coach is like, no, you stay in the front office.
Yeah, this is a very dialogue-driven movie.
Oh, yeah.
Although there is a portion of the film where, you actually get to see some baseball action, but it's very dialogue, back office driven, and it's not like shining a favorable light on baseball. I'm surprised that they're letting some of these guys use their real names. Like certainly Hatterberg comes off looking very well, while Giambi doesn't. Not Jason Giambi, but his brother. And Damon may not come off as looking so great. But they're used as examples. Yeah, they go where the money is. But what's really interesting is that they uncover like this, I got to use the word again, systematic, epistemological problem inside baseball that is just, it's just spread throughout. This is how people think. Right. It's like Billy Beane trying to convince other people that, much to their astonishment, and the astonishment with the decisions that Billy Beane makes are the way characters react. It makes for a good movie. And, he's got a lot on the line, and people just think he's nuts.
And he sticks with this kid he hired, and they stick with the plan, and the plan blows up in their face right away, but they stick with it. And the thing, I don't know if I've admitted this on the podcast before, I'm not a baseball fan. I really don't like baseball. But,
whereas I was at the Red Sox game last week and invited you, and you turned it down.
Yeah, oh yeah.
A free ticket to go see the Sox, and John turned it down.
Can't be bothered. But this isn't, this is a movie this movie is set in the world of baseball, but it's not a baseball movie to me. It's, you can say it's a great sports movie, blah, 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 but it's a great underdog story, about this kid who no one respects because he doesn't, they don't believe because he sees the game in a different way than they do.
You mean underdog? You mean Billy Beane?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the kid too, the Jonah Hill character.
Yeah. He's
someone
like
who
he should be working.
He
shouldn't
be in baseball. Yeah. What's he doing in baseball? He has no respect for the time-honored tradition. He's probably the biggest fan of the game.
Yeah, in his
there.
heart. In his heart.
Everyone else sees it from the business side or from the, this is my job side. He's just a fan who sees a better way to play the ball, to play the game.
Also, Brad Pitt's character likes this new theory because it explains what happened to him, in that you can be really great in high school and you can go from there to getting paid a ton of money. I think they paid him all this money to play for the Mets, and he didn't perform.
Right.
It's just what happened in outside the major leagues just didn't happen for him in the majors. Like, he had all this ability, he had all the 5 gifts, and he just flopped.
Mm-hmm.
So this numbers system, in a way, I think he was also pursuing it because he believed this explained what happened to him. In other words, he didn't come out on the good side of these numbers.
Right.
But other guys like Hatterberg had this ability to be able to get on base, and there's nothing wrong with the walk. And I love the scenes in the back office where, what does he do? He walks. Like
Kevin Youkilis.
Kevin Youkilis. Yeah, he's a good example.
Waddles like a duck.
But when Pitt's trying to make his case to the other scouts,
yeah,
and they're just not having it. They come up with all these reasons like, this guy's not any good because he doesn't have any confidence because his girlfriend's ugly.
Right.
And that means this. But basically, it's like, why would they want a guy like Kevin Youkilis? Because Kevin Youkilis gets on base.
Right.
Kevin Youkilis doesn't hit home runs, but he takes the walk.
Mm-hmm.
He gets there. And that ultimately is that's like gold.
Well, even though I'm not a baseball fan, I am a huge football fan, and it reminds me of what Bill Belichick does with the Patriots. Every player on that team has a job to do.
Yeah.
You do your job. Don't do anything else. If your job is to block this guy, you just block that guy. That's your job.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone on that team follows that example. They do their job. They don't say it that way in this movie, but every one of those players they get, they have a job.
I think they do, because Philip Seymour Hoffman says that his experience shows him that this is the way you play the game.
Right.
And he represents that other way of thinking that's based on ego, that says, my experience has taught me that I know how to pick these intangibles.
Right.
Whereas the numbers aren't intangible. It's delivering a cold, hard fact.
Right.
You run the numbers. And then this shows you where the value is in players that don't make tons of money. And you can put together a team that beats the Yankees for less than $40 million.
And it cuts through. There's so much. I think of it as bullshit, but you can call it the myth of sports. That all those the guys in the front office, all the scouts, all the coaches, they have this. Like there's some kind of voodoo about sports that they know, they understand because they've been around it for so long, and the numbers don't believe that either. So I like that. I just like the whole thing, and I thought the acting in this movie was phenomenal.
Yeah. I think I've been talking too much about the philosophy.
No,
of what's going on, which basically is like all detailed in Michael Lewis's book. But this as a film is very entertaining.
Yeah, even the dialogue. The dialogue is crisp and is delivered so well. This was the best I've seen Jonah Hill do in a role.
Yeah, it's his best. It's his best Jonah Hill.
Yeah, and and he's the kid from Superbad. He's the wise ass kid from Get Him to the Greek. He's always had this. He doesn't. There are some funny moments in this film, but it's not because he says funny or outrageous things. It's all situational. Like we talked before, Pitt, phenomenal performance. And
a funny guy.
So Philip Seymour Hoffman, almost unrecognizable in his role as the manager. Shaven head, fat, just delightful.
Seemingly uninspired, but I keep hitting the mic. Sorry. Seemingly uninspired, but that's Art Howe, I guess.
Yeah,
and maybe Art Howe would probably take issue with this performance of him, but
let him.
They went ahead and made this movie. And
then just even they give Brad Pitt. I guess Billy Bean was divorced, so they give him a little girl
with the his daughter.
His daughter.
She's sort of the heart of the film. Very
and
important.
It works. I mean, it's a good performance by the little kid, and even when there's that song. And it's like in less talented hands, this would be awful. But
it's an important element. It shows him being, he's surrounded by gruff guys all day. Just consumed by sports.
Mm-hmm.
That at the other end, he's got a young girl who just wants to, make sure her dad's okay, and
it's endearing.
Worried about him losing her job.
And
him losing his job.
And he's got Robin Wright as an ex-wife, which is,
right.
She's a fabulous actress, and she comes in for like 3 lines in this.
Well,
movie,
yeah, and her husband, her or boyfriend,
yeah,
Spike Jonze.
That was Spike Jonze.
That was Spike Jonze, director of Being John Malkovich.
I know. It was I didn't realize it was him.
Everything's peaceful here.
Yeah,
He lives in this like seaside house where it's like you'd expect him to say namaste.
Yeah,
when he opens the door.
All good stuff. All very entertaining. That's just it. You don't have to be a baseball fan. You just have to be a fan of good, entertaining movies.
Directed by Bennett Miller, who made the film Capote a few years back with Philip Seymour Hoffman, and he's a really good filmmaker. When they say some guys have talent, some guys don't. Bennett Miller has talent. He's good.
When Jonah Hill came in to talk about the movie, and he's from the comedy school with Judd Apatow and the guy from 50-50. Why can't I remember his name? The Green Hornet.
The Green Hornet, Seth Rogen.
Yeah, that school of comedy where it's
Michael
going off
Cera.
some shit. It's always trying to be funny. So we asked him if he ad-libbed in this, and he was like, "You don't, Alan Sorkinson's script is good. You don't need to ad-lib it. He's right there on set too, so you don't need to." I think it's a very well-written movie. Good
And
stuff.
Brad Pitt is so good on the phone.
Yeah,
He's really good on the phone. He knows how to handle a phone conversation and like make the sale, get the job done.
Yeah.
Some of the film's most amusing scenes are just these office scenes.
When you get what you need, hang on.
Yeah, exactly. The little things you can learn.
And they're good together, Pitt and Jonah Hill. Really good together.
Yep.
So I recommend this a lot. This is one I wouldn't mind seeing again.
Yeah, it's the movie to see. They're setting it up as like an Oscar thing.
I don't know.
I don't know how great. It's a pleasing film.
Yeah,
and
it's early. What is it? Mid to late September. It's too early for Oscar. The Oscar pony's not going to come out for another month, and then they'll all forget.
The Oscar season has begun.
Yeah, I love saying
That's
that in like
just
January.
Unbelievable. But you got to sell your movie, so
yeah,
it's as good. We're like,
good
whatever.
Luck to 'em, yeah,
good luck. It's just a fine film. This is the one you want to see this weekend. This is the one you want to pay for. It's good.
Yes,
it's good. So hey, I think we're done.
We are.
This is now. This is the awkward. Now this is the awkward moment where I don't know what else to talk about.
Nothing.
And
You've said it all.
I just have to say, anybody out there, if you would like to let us know how we're doing, we would love to hear it. So send us an email at contact@post-movie.net. Let us know how we're doing. I mean,
And send money.
are we good? Are we bad? I don't know.
Make a donation.
Yeah. Or if you want, go to the website, post-movie.net, and there's a donate thing up there. I haven't checked it. I don't know.
We should get.
But I should probably respect it more. And if you respect the site, maybe more people will visit.
We should get Sarah McLachlan to play some sad music right now. We can say, if you don't send us money, we won't be able to do the post-movie podcast anymore.
I need to buy some new
donation.
wires.
Yes.
And some new adapters. I want to get. I actually have to get. I keep bumping the mic. I have to get this like adapter so that we can do telephone calls.
Right.
Like I've got the device. I just don't have the. I was at Radio Shack the other day trying to figure out what frigging adapter I needed to do this. I don't know.
And this is where Sarah McLachlan would come in and say, "You see how poor they are? They go to Radio Shack."
It's
So, all right, that's my weekly plug for money. It's never going to get me a dime, but all right. So we're done.
We're done.
Right.
And if you want, check out Facebook. We're on Facebook. You can like us there, and we're also on iTunes and iTunes. Oh man, we did get a great iTunes review. Somebody said
Hey.
this is the best movie podcast I've heard in a long time.
Thanks, Mom.
And
Who was it?
and I can't remember. Was it her
Let's
name?
have them on.
I don't remember.
Are they local?
But I was like, yeah, we try.
That's right. That's right.
We try.
It may not sound it at times, but we do. We try.
True. Until next time, I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
So long, everybody.